Here are the top stories for today, July 12, 2019. The Philippines defends itself amid the issuance of a UN resolution calling for the investigation of the country's human rights situation. Malacanang says regaining control of China-occupied islands in the West Philippine Sea is doable. President Duterte orders customs personnel in floating status to explain themselves on July 15. And the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee said that preparations for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games are on track.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Philippine government, through the Department of Foreign Affairs, hit the United Nations adopted resolution seeking for a comprehensive written report on the human rights situation in the country. The Iceland-initiated resolution was adopted with 18 votes in favor, 14 against, and 15 abstentions by the UN Human Rights Council on Thursday night. In a statement, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. said the resolution was not universally adopted. It is highly questionable and does not represent the will of the Council. He described the Iceland resolution as politically partisan and one-sided. Among the 18 states that voted yes include Argentina, Australia, Austria, Bahamas, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Fiji, Iceland, Italy, Mexico, Peru, Slovakia, Spain, Ukraine, the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland and Uruguay. 14 nations, on the other hand, voted no, including Angola, Bahrain, Cameroon, Hungary, China, Cuba, Egypt, Eritrea, India, Iraq, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Somalia. Meanwhile, 15 abstained, including Japan, South Africa, Brazil, and Pakistan. But despite the resolution's adoption, Locsin said the country will continue to work with the UNHRC as the Philippines must remain true to the cause of human rights. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday shrugged off the United Nations Human Rights Council's move to adopt a resolution that would allow the body to investigate the human rights situation in the Philippines. In a chance interview in Malacanang, President Duterte said he will allow the UNHRC to investigate the country, but they should first state their purpose. The president adds that the UNHRC only adds to the intrigue and that they better go to the media and the media will tell them the truth.
Bahala sila kung ako magtrabaho, hindi ako. That's crazy. Let them state their purpose and I will review. Kasi kung pagdagdag lang sila sa intriga, they better go to the media and the media will tell them the truth. So, palabas ninyo yung footages ninyo lahat and all. And that will clear everybody.
PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde is pushing lawmakers to support measures that will enhance the country's capability against the threat of terrorism. Albayalde made the remark after President Rodrigo Duterte asked the police and the military to be prepared for dangerous times ahead. Citing the case of the first suicide bombing perpetrated by a Filipino in Sulu last June 28, Albayalde said he has earlier warned Congress to prepare for these situations. He said there is need to amend the Human Security Act and the National ID system. He said the Human Security Act could boost the law enforcer surveillance capability and anti-terrorism and insurgency operations. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Joint Task Force National Capital Region, or JTF-NCR, will augment security preparations made by the police for President Rodrigo Duterte's fourth State of the Nation address on June 22nd. The JTF-NCR is the military formation tasked to protect Metro Manila from all forms of threats. Earlier, the National Capital Region Police Office said that it will be deploying around 15,000 police officers and auxiliaries for July 22. This figure includes contingents from JTF, NCR, and other law enforcement, traffic, and disaster response agencies. Over 1 million Filipinos are seen to benefit from the First-Time Job Seekers Act, which will support their efforts to secure employment. More on this and other news around the metro from Miguel Hill.
BARMM Interim Chief Alhaj Murad Ibrahim has accepted the appointment of Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol in the Mindanao Development Authority. President Duterte said Murad is now fine-tuning the details of the appointment of Piñol, who will act as the President's point man. Meanwhile, the Department of Finance has directed the Bureau of Customs to look into the creation of a special team to guard against the entry of waste materials that other countries are attempting to dump in the Philippines. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III said the strike team will be similar to a special environmental strike force that will be activated to guard against the entry of hazardous materials in the country. In other news, more than 1 million first-time job seekers are expected to benefit every year from the newly approved First-Time Job Seekers Act. First-time job seekers are expected to save some 2,500 pesos in securing government-issued clearances such as NBI, police, birth certificates, and transcript of records from government schools and training facilities. And the Department of Tourism is organizing the first Philippine International Dive Expo in Manila this September to sustain the development of the local scuba diving industry. DOT Assistant Secretary Roberto Alabado III on Wednesday said the event will gather renowned scientists, marine conservationists, and underwater photographers to network and exchange ideas on sustainable dive tourism practices. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
Still to come, Malacanang says regaining control of China's occupied islands in the West Philippine Sea is doable. Local meat processors support the temporary ban on imported pork products from Germany. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ito ang Duterte on Duty. Ulat sa ginagawa ng Presidente. June 25, Martes, Malacanang. Pinanumpa ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte ang mga bagong halal na senador mula sa partidong hugpong ng pagbabago. Nanumpa rin ang mga bagong talagang LGU officials at party list representatives. June 26, Miyerkules, PSG Grandstand. Pinangunahan ng Pangulo ang 122nd anniversary ng Presidential Security Group.
I extend my sincere appreciation and gratitude to the Presidential Security Group. Rest assured that this administration will remain committed to the continuing improvement and modernization of the PSG so that you can perform your mandate more effectively.
June 30, Linggo, Fort Bonifacio. Nakiramay si Pangulong Duterte sa mga naulila ni Corporal Richard Macabadbad, ang sundalong nasawi sa pagbomba sa isang military camp sa Sulu noong June 28, 2019. July 1, Lunes, Malacanang. Nanumpa sa Pangulo si dating Senador Gringo Honasan bilang bagong sekretary ng Department of Information and Communications Technology. Kinagabihan ay pinulong niya ang gabinete para sa 39th Cabinet Meeting. July 2, Martes, Villamor Air Base. Panauhing pandangal ang Commander-in-Chief sa 72nd anniversary ng Philippine Air Force.
Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge your very crucial role in our military's internal security operations by providing air assets and close personal support to your ground troops during engagements with the Abu Sayyaf and other local terrorist groups. Let us work together as one team so we may effectively uphold our sovereignty and protect the safety of our people at all times, at all costs.
July 3, Miyerkules, Zamboanga City. Binisita ng Pangulo ang mga sugatang sundalo sa pagbomba sa military camp sa Indanan, Sulu noong June 28. Davao City. Nakiramay siya sa pamilya ng veteranong photojournalist at miyembro ng Presidential Photographers Division na si Renato Lumawag o mas kilala sa tawag na Tatay Rene. July 5, Biyernes, Ormoc City. Pinangunahan ni Pangulong Duterte ang inaugurasyon ng Ormoc City Airport Development Project. Alang-alang, Leyte. Dumalo rin siya sa inaugurasyon ng CYA Rice Processing Complex, ang pinakamodernong rice processing center sa bansa. Ako po si Secretary Martin Andanar at ito ang Duterte on Duty. Abangan sa susunod na linggo ang mga gagawin ng Pangulo.
Malacanang said on Thursday that the Philippines can definitely regain control of Chinese-occupied islands in the West Philippine Sea. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made this reaction after the social weather stations released another survey result showing that 93% of Filipinos believe that it is important that the government regain control over China-occupied islands in the disputed waters. Panelo pointed out the reality that China insists on its 9-dash line claim, which covers nearly the entire South China Sea, including the Philippine-claimed Panatag Shoal. He also insisted that President Rodrigo Duterte will stand pat on diplomatic negotiations to settle the sea row.
Reality is, may problema tayo doon. Because China claims to own it too. Tandaanin natin sa diplomatic negotiations.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue has issued new batches of notices to Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGO, billing them for unpaid taxes amounting to about 3 billion pesos. The new notices are on top of the 4.4 billion pesos that were earlier sent to POGO companies for their mostly Chinese workers who were found to be unregistered and not paying income taxes. BIR Commissioner Cesar Dulay said the drive to determine how many unregistered POGO workers are in the country today is ongoing with the help of the Department of Labor and Employment and the Bureau of Immigration. He said the latest notices were for deficient taxes of employees who are already covered by their employers and that the use of the arm of the law to force the POGO operators and foreign workers to pay. Meat processors in the country express support for the temporary ban on importation of meats from Germany. This after 10 boxes of pork flat bones from Poland were mistakenly included in a full container load of pork meat from Germany. The shipment arrived at the Cebu International Port last June 27. According to ProFood's export manager Silvana Maria Pinter-Conman, the frozen bones were mistakenly exported. Meanwhile, the Philippine Associators of Meat Processors Incorporated said pork meat imports from Poland have been banned since September due to African swine fever. Prices of bacon, ham, and tocino may be affected due to the shortage in supply brought about by the African swine fever and has swept parts of Europe, Africa, and Asia. And in our foreign news, Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Wednesday called for world's enhanced efforts on climate change. She made the plea while inaugurating a two-day meeting of the Global Commission on Adaptation. Hasina urged the community to put more emphasis on research and investment as the climate change is fast impacting on agriculture, life, and livelihood. Bangladeshi Foreign Minister Ak Abdul Momen earlier said that discussions will be held on a special report on adaptation prepared by the GCA, and the report with high-level recommendations on adaptation will be revealed to the global community ahead of the Climate Action Summit in September. Back in the country, The Department of Health has expressed alarm on the rising cases of dengue in Visayas, and households in Sarangani province benefit from the solar power project. More on these and other news from the provinces from Benj Bondo.
In Antique, the province recorded 476 cases of dengue with 5 deaths from January 1 to July 7. The Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council is eyeing to allocate some 5 million pesos from its calamity fund to purchase medical supplies and other needs of dengue patients. Meanwhile, the Department of Health has expressed alarm over the rising number of dengue cases in eastern Visayas, with 19 deaths and 4,809 confirmed cases as of Thursday. The DOH provided rapid dengue test kits in rural health units and advised villages to organize cleanup campaigns focusing on the destruction of mosquito breeding places in their areas. In Sarangani province, around 2,500 households in remote upland villages are expected to benefit from a 300 million peso solar power project supported by the European Union. Household beneficiaries will each receive a solar home system unit composed of a solar panel with a peak capacity of 50 watts, battery, and system box. And in Bulacan, the Department of Trade and Industry opened the 15th Negosyo Center on July 9 to bring government services closer to the people. The center is a one-stop shop where business owners can process their business registration and seek business advisory services and provide business information, advocacy, monitoring, and evaluation of business process improvement. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Up next, President Duterte orders customs personnel in floating status to explain themselves to him on July 15. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders. President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday night said he will still give a total of 64 customs personnel a chance to explain themselves in a meeting on July 15. Duterte bared this a day after he ordered the freezing of customs officials and employees but did not disclose their names. He, however, said he will relieve them of their duties, although they are not ousted or dismissed because of their right to be heard. Duterte clarified that he will be firing BOC employees and not officials, as earlier mentioned. He said he will be firing those who are facing charges and those who are or who have been implicated in shenanigans. The president also said he will leave it to the ombudsman to file charges against the implicated personnel. The Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee on Thursday said that preparations for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games are on track. FISGOC Chief Operating Officer Ramon Susara said they are trying to fast-track the construction of competition venues, especially the temporary ones. He said they are looking at the completion of all construction tasks by end of September or October. On Thursday, Susara and representatives from Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and Timor-Leste met in Manila for the second SEA Games Chef de Mission meeting. The CDMs visit the various venues for the SEA Games, including the Philippine Arena today, where the 30th SEA Games opening ceremonies will be held. And in sports, undefeated Dave the Hunter Peñalosa battles Lerato Lights Out Dlamini of South Africa for the vacant World Boxing Council International Featherweight title. It will happen today, July 12, at the King Abdullah Sports City in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Peñalosa comes in with an unblemished 15-0 ring record with 11 wins via knockouts. Peñalosa scored an impressive fourth-round technical knockout victory against Marcos Cardenas, but will not be complacent against Dlamini, who lost only once in 13 fights and has 6 victories in short distance. Peñalosa said he is happy to be a part of the Amir Khan Niraj Goyat undercard. Water concessionaire Maynilad is appealing the financial penalty being imposed by the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System. The MWSS imposed a financial penalty on Maynilad in June after the water concessionaire's customer in parts of Las Piñas City were deprived of water services for more than 15 days in the month of May. Maynilad President and CEO Ramoncito Fernandez said the reason for the interruption in portions of Barangay Captain Albert Aguilar was a combination of the algae bloom together with the lowering of Angat Dam's water level. Fernandez said they already identified some households that did not have interruptions. A total of 1,841 connections were affected and will be receiving a 2,500 peso rebate per connection, which will be reflected on their August 2019 bill. Angat Dam breached its 160-meter critical water on Thursday due to the lack of significant rainfall. Pag-asa said the dam's water level this morning was at 159.69 meters. This was below the 180-meter minimum operating level of the dam in Bulacan province that supplies water to Metro Manila and nearby provinces. The weekend southwest monsoon brought fewer rains, according to the National Water Resources Board. Pag-asa said 2 to 3 typhoons are expected towards the end of July. Manila Water still receives the same allocation from the Water Board even if Angat again falls below the critical level. It is still implementing rotational water service interruptions concession-wide. Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's biggest stories.
The Philippines defends itself amid the issuance of a UN resolution calling for the investigation of the country's human rights situation. Malacanang says regaining control of China-occupied islands in the West Philippine Sea is doable. President Duterte orders customs personnel in floating status to explain themselves on July 15. And the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee said that preparations for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games are on track.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And remember, success is not always about greatness. Just work hard and consistently. Success will come. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.